Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel for another build video. So today's video is going to be a pretty short one, to be honest, but I got the new Belle Cottage in the premium shop this week. I don't know if anyone else picked this up, but I bought it instantly. I absolutely love how it looks and I want to actually use it as my main home in the valley. I've had it as the flowery summer cottage for pretty much since we got it. I've never really changed it since then because I really love how that little cottage looked. And now I think it's time for a change, so I'm actually going to change it to the Belle Cottage today. Now at some point I will do a build kind of integrating the cottage into my actual valley. There's a lot of my valley I want to redo because we're getting so many new items and I genuinely just don't have the place to fit them. So at some point I will integrate the actual cottage into my kind of like cottage core village up in my forest, but for the meantime I thought I would place it as my actual home and I would redecorate the area where my home is in the meadow. If any of you have seen my meadow video or my tour video, I have it in this little alcove in the meadow because I just think this is a really good spot. You can get to everything really quickly with your house being here. So I'm going to change it up to the cottage today and see how everything looks and figure it all out. So let's start. So first off, I went in and obviously removed everything that I had here before because the Belle Cottage is a lot bigger than the house I had in here before, which meant I couldn't just straight swap it. I had to kind of re-landscape the whole area, so I decided to just get rid of everything and start from scratch. I find this a really easy way to be able to be a lot more creative with what I'm doing, and it just is more enjoyable in my opinion. So I went in with the cottage and then I started adding in a bunch of different coloured trees. I used the red ones, the normal oaks and some of the maple trees, as obviously the Belle's Cottage has this really nice autumnal look, so I wanted to kind of mimic that in the trees around and give it a lot more colour. After I'd gone in and placed the unbordered pathway, just continuing on for the pathway I had originally, I then started going in with all my foliage. Now in this build I wanted there to be a lot of different bushes and flowers included because I really like the overgrown look and it fits the rest of my meadow. It is very overgrown, very bright, very green. So I wanted to incorporate that in the build and I decided to actually line the pathways with lots of bushes and shrubbery and have this kind of nice enclosed pathway. I did use ferns on the path so I can get in between and get to the rock spots on the right hand side and kind of be able to go around, but I did want it to give it this really kind of fairy like cottage core look because it really fit the vibe of the house. So I went in and started placing these around and creating a nice border around the house. On the pathways I used some just little rock pebbles to kind of give the pathway a bit more texture. I feel like this always helps it look less flat and plain and kind of builds into the rustic look. And I also added in some tree stumps and fallen logs just to kind of fit the autumnal theme that I went for in here. I did want it to still feel consistent with the rest of my meadow. I didn't want it to feel too out of place. So I did majority go for obviously these bright green plants, but as you'll see I do go in later and add in a couple of the orange and red ones that are from the plateau. I did kind of dot these about in the background of this house just to really tie it all together, but for now I wanted to make sure I kind of had everything bordered and made sure we could kind of see all the places highlighted around the back of the house and ensure we could kind of access everything effectively. Now, as you can see, once I'd gone in and done the orange and red bushes, I also added in a bunch of meadow grass and beach grass into these open areas in the garden. I wanted it to really feel like a nice overgrown front garden area, and it just seemed to make more sense rather than filling it all with bushes and making it look very overpowered. So that is what I went for, and I kind of figured out other things I could dot about to make it look a lot more natural in here. I did have to keep going in and picking up different herbs and stuff that kept spawning, but I kind of finished that all off and then added a few furniture pieces. I knew I wanted to include some bird houses. The majority of the stuff I did use was craftable stuff, so it's pretty easy to get your hands on if you have the resources. So I added some flower pots, some bird houses, and a few other craftable items dotted around the garden that kind of fit the cottagecore theme. Now for one of the final touches, I went in and added some melted candles just dotted about around the whole landscape. It just will give it a nice warm glow during nighttime and sunset, and it kind of just fits in with the whimsical theme that I have going on the rest of my meadow. It's not mandatory at all to do this, but I love how it turned out. So this is the final build. As I said before, I did it in this little alcove in the back of the meadow where I always have my house placed. So this isn't exactly how I decorate it anywhere else in my valley, but for my own home I wanted it to feel very me, and it just really fits with my kind of aesthetic of what I go for when I'm building around my home. So as you can see, it's got the nice open grass areas with lots of overgrown grass, lots of plants, a lot of bright greens, and then the pop of colour from the butterfly flowers. And towards the back you can see obviously the orange and red bushes where it kind of feels like we're going into autumn time and they're starting to wilt a little bit. That's kind of the vibe I was going for, but obviously I've got everything dotted about and I really love how it turned out. So here are just a few shots of the final build. Obviously it isn't a very big area, and at some point I do want to place this house skin into like my little cottage core area, but I have a feeling I'm gonna have to destroy it and rebuild it to fit this house in, because this house is pretty big. The footprint of it is quite huge, so it's going to be difficult to fit it in. But for now I thought I'll use it as my own home, as I just really love the look of it, and I think it is one of my favourite premium shop houses we've had so far. Let me know down below what you guys thought of the build. Have you picked up this house in the premium shop? Let me know your thoughts on everything, and if you do want to see me kind of decorate this into my cottagecore village at some point, do let me know it down below and I'll be happy to do that for you when I get around to potentially destroying a lot of my forests. So we shall see if that happens, but make sure you like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!